taking calls tonight. So thank you for joining us. So we are going to start with the rider of the broadcast, which is the development going on in Rivers State. Last week, the Rivers State House of Assembly, sent a letter, an impeachment notice, 8 points, is it 8 points or 8 allegations against the governor, bordering on a gross misconduct, mismanagement of public fund, not getting state assembly's appropriation approval before spending money, and on like that. Then, a few days after that, I think it was like about 2 days after, 2 members from those who signed the impeachment notice that was sent to the governor and the deputy governor, 2 of them came back and said, well, you know what, they would prefer they use political solution to solve their problems, instead of going the route of impeachment that may likely throw the state into another chaos. Then, 2 days ago, another 2 members of the same group of lawmakers who are planning to remove the governor also said they would prefer the political solution, whereby there would be no need for any impeachment. All of that now is like they have walked back all they have said, because this morning, first, the 4 members of the State House of Assembly that initially supported what they call the political solution that withdrew from the impeachment of Fubara, they were the first to speak by walking back on their own statements. So now they are all going ahead with the impeachment of Fubara. Do you need a backstory? No, you don't. So we're going to start from that, all right? So they have moved as far as sending a letter to the state chief justice of the state, like the chief judge of the state, to constitute what they call the impeachment panel, the one that would then give the State House of Assembly the go-ahead or not to impeach the governor. So this afternoon, the governor's group or his own camp, they approached a court in Rivers, the Port Harcourt High Court, that granted them an ex parte order. An ex parte order is to say the status quo should remain. Things should be as they are right now. There shouldn't be any impeachment or whatever, panel. However, the State House of Assembly have concluded, these guys have actually concluded their plan. And if everything goes as they are planning, Fubara and his deputy may cease to be governor and deputy governor of Rivers State before the end of this month, if they succeed. Now let's see how that plays out. So first, the 4 members that initially said they were not going to be part of the impeachment process anymore walked back on their own words, and they are part and parcel of the impeachment process against the Fubara with the weakest godson. Yeah.
Good morning, members of the press. You will recall that on the 12th day of January 2026, myself and my colleague, Honorable Peter Aben, addressed the press, wherein we made a plea to our colleagues to seek for a political solution to this impasse that is going on between the Assembly and the Governor of Rivers State. During the pendency of this appeal, we found out that the Governor and the Deputy Governor, they have all employed their media boys and aides to continuously attack the Rivers State House of Assembly instead of seeking for the political solution which we offer. It is on this basis that I, Honorable Silvanus Wankwo, and my fellow colleague here, Honorable Peter Aden, is saying that the impeachment proceedings should continue. We have extended our plea. Thank you so much.
Gentlemen of the press, you will recall, as the minority leader said, some few days ago, we pleaded with our colleagues to rescind the impeachment process. But as we all know, as my colleague, the minority leader said, we have been a series of attacks because we see that the governor's ploy is to continue to infringe on the Constitution. And remember, I told you that infringement on the Constitution is a no-go, is a no-no. So the infringement, there is no stopping the governor and the deputy. So me as an Ijaw man, I'm an Ijaw man to the governor, and this is not ethical. We should not ethnicize this. This is simply a constitutional matter. And so we are saying that the process should hereby continue. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I, Honorable Barile Nwako, the Deputy Minority Leader and member representing the Ghana Constituency 1. Recall that on Wednesday, the 14th of January 2025, Honorable Emilia Lucky Amadi and I addressed the media and stated that we are willing to adopt a political solution to the matter affecting the governor and his deputy governor, removal from office. Regrettably, the governor and deputy governor have sent signals to us that they are not prepared to retrace their steps and govern in line with the Constitution. They are adamant. We are now convinced that their strategy is to intimidate us into withdrawing the impeachment process for the third time while they continue their infractions on the Constitution and the law. They are insisting that others will come and we will not perform the oversight functions like other states' legislation in the Federation. This is very bad for our democracy. On this note, we are proceeding with the impeachment process, and while we thank Mr. President for his fatherly effort so far that the governor and the deputy governor have both disregarded, let me call on my colleague to say something concerning this issue. Thank you.
Gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I am Honorable Emilia Lucky Amadi. I represent the good people of Obiakpo State Constituency 2. What Honorable Barile Nwako just said now is that we have resolved to proceed with the impeachment process. We had earlier taken a position to consider a political solution, but the governor and deputy governor are ignoring us. And regarding the House of Assembly to the background, they are insisting that they will not govern in line with the Constitution and that nothing will happen. There are strong indications that they are adamant with their decisions to continue with illegal actions in their state. And they are boasting that we do not matter and cannot perform oversight functions.
The two ladies are probably like illiterate. I don't know. I'm not like, they are like so dumb than what you can imagine. They had to jot something in a paper for them to go and read. The last time when they paired, the women, and the two of them were reading what they called their, following their hearts, right? In asking for political solution. Like then, it was the same piece of paper, reading like a kindergarten kids in a way. Honorable lawmakers. The second one that is saying that the governor said they don't matter. 2 days ago, he practically said she contacted Werewike, and Werewike told her to follow her mind or heart. And her heart is to call for political solution. Now, let me tell you the backstory of what changed in the last 48 hours. So initially they said Fubara, Fubara himself said he was waiting for Werewike to arrange a meeting between himself and the State House of Assembly. But somehow he managed to break into their ranks in which some of them were accused of collecting money from him. That only lasted for just 3-4 days, right? So he managed to broker a kind of a deal with them, and they were supposed to reconvene yesterday, but somehow they didn't, because yesterday was the time they were supposed to actually really meet, discuss all their differences in court, and they seemed to have agreed to meet. All right, but the speaker didn't convene them to meet yesterday. So between that yesterday and today, everything changed. Now they are back to pointing fingers at themselves. It is his fault. They are using their media to abuse us. They are still threatening us and all of that. So when they all assembled in the house of the speaker this morning, that's when they were doing that, staged performance. All of them met, 26 of them, according to their reports, right? So then they walk straight into a place they are currently using as the temporary status of assembly sort of complex, right? And then this happened. This was before this was before they notified or directed the chief judge of the state to convene a panel and the process here, reverse status of assembly.
Pursuant to this section of the Constitution, I seek your leave to immediately put this to vote on that note. Members who are in support that the notice of allegations of gross misconduct against His Excellency Sir Fubara, GSSRS, Governor of the State, be investigated should indicate by raising their hands. Please do the count. Against, abstention, distinguished colleagues, the clerk, and ensure that the votes counted. Those in favor that the investigation should proceed are 25 number. Against, nil. Abstention, nil. Distinguished colleagues, by this voting, the Rivers State House of Assembly has resolved that investigations against allegations of gross misconduct leveled against His Excellency Sir Fubara, Governor of Rivers State, should proceed to the next level, which is investigation, and by virtue of Section 188, subsection 5, I will ensure that the resolution of this House is immediately communicated to the Chief Judge of Rivers State. Clerk, what do we have next in the
A call for votes in view of the notice of allegation of gross misconduct against Her Excellency Professor Ngozi Mamudo, DSSRS, Deputy Governor of Rivers State, pursuant to Section 188, subsection 3 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, the clerk has just read what we have in the other paper, which is the call for votes in view of the notice of allegations of gross misconduct against Her Excellency the Deputy Governor of Rivers State, Professor Ngozi Mamudo, DSSRS, pursuant to Section 188, subsection 3 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. Distinguished colleagues, on that note, let me put the question. Those in favor that the allegations of gross misconduct against Her Excellency, the the Deputy Governor of Rivers State, Professor Ngozi Mako, DSSRS, be investigated to indicate by raising their hands. Against, abstention. Distinguished colleagues, the clerk of the House has ensured that the counting is copied on behalf of the votes at the end of the day. Those in favor of the decision that Excellency Deputy Governor should be investigated and that the investigation should be forwarded to the Chief Judge are 25 in number. Against, nil. Abstention, nil. Distinguished colleagues, by this voting, it clearly shows the decision of the House, which is that we have resolved that the investigation against the Excellency the Deputy Governor should commence, and that, Mr. Speaker, in line with Section 188, subsection 5, will forward a letter to the Chief Judge of Rivers State calling on him to immediately set up a seven-man panel to begin investigations of these allegations against Her Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Rivers State.
So now let me explain what that actually means if they succeed. Presently, Fubara's camp, they have managed to go and get an ex parte order. Ex parte order is just a temporary order to say don't do anything for now. If I don't act on any of this decision, or ex parte order can really stop them. Then if they succeed and Fubara and his deputy, they are both impeached, the speaker will become the acting governor, and they will now compel the INEC to conduct another election in between 90 and 180 days. That is between 3 months and 6 months. So how smooth that is going to play out remains with the person who is pulling the string. The guys in the State House of Assembly are saying that Fubara is not kind of like innocent in a way, that it might be sounding like he's fighting his godfather, but the real problem is actually with them, that Fubara doesn't recognize them, it doesn't deal with them, it doesn't even pay them what is their constitutionally due, like payments, it doesn't. And all of these, they are infractions against the Constitution, but we all know the root cause, the genesis. So if Fubara is legitimately elected as governor of Rivers State, right? That's where you're going to see the people of Rivers State to say, no, we reject this, but he is not legitimately elected. In that sense, right? It makes the entire thing a mockery of what they call their democracy. It's all kind of like, you know. So Werewike and his men they're counting days, counting time. But this afternoon, right? Federal High Court, is it? Or State High Court, rather, in Port Harcourt, granted an ex parte order, which does this copy on the screen, right? So they put on all the members in the... And here is another thing I actually want to say before I even go into that. Wait. How many of you have ever wondered, like, this Fubara of a person, right? That let's assume that, or let's agree that Werewike, they have plotted and put all these guys together. Out of 32 or 30, 32 House of Assembly members, right, is unable to actually win over at least half of them to his own side. I mean, to show that he's actually on ground. He is not, in this sense, you know. It could have probably been on ground if he succeeded without the and Supreme Court intervention at the time, because if he had succeeded, by the way, there won't be these guys as House of Assembly members anymore. They will be gone, because he actually said they were gone. That wasn't solid, right? So the local government, he nearly took that over as well, but today it doesn't have that. It doesn't have the status of assembly. So with what